Discrimination, age bias, not a funny topic, but something that so many of our listeners have experienced, will experience, we all will at some point. And it comes down to, right, I'm over, pick your age, 50, 60, whatever it is. And my perception is this is my boulder in the road. This is the thing that's going to keep me from getting noticed, getting interviewed, getting hired. And I'm going to turn to Jade and we're going to work across the virtual room here and say, Jade, what's going on there? What's your insight and what's your advice to people who are experiencing or will experience this?
I would say two things. So the first one would be every single person, I would say one out of every four people ask me that question. Am I too old? And I ask them, how young are you? And they tell me, and I say, you know what? Pretty much everyone I speak to is that age. There's a reason you are an executive because you have experience and you have a gravitas around you that younger people just don't have. They have that wisdom. You paid for that wisdom with a few wrinkles or two, and that's okay. Everyone is in that boat. So if that company is looking for wisdom and experience and someone who knows how to get results and carry themselves and conduct themselves accordingly, they're going to want you. So that would be the first thing I say to that. And the second thing, I think it was Ronald Reagan, and I admit I was a bit young for it, but I've heard the stories. When they asked, they asked him in an interview about his age and the candidate, and he said, "I will not let my opponent's youth hold get in the way, and I'm not going to discriminate against him because of his youth." I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's what he said because he was a little bit aged. So what? He was a great guy. He delivered results. People love them, and if you've got in your back pocket, that's all you have to worry. That's all you have to do or worry about. If you make it a big deal, they will make it a big deal.
Well said. So Don, let's shift over to you, and I'm going to frame the question a little bit. So we heard what Jade said, powerful stuff. When it comes down to projecting what she said through your collateral, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, networking, how do you work through or around the age thing so that it's your competitive advantage? How do you do that?
It's a good question that I'm going to avoid for a second.
Okay.
Okay?
Your seconds
I
are.
just got something across my desk earlier this morning.
Okay.
Bureau of Labor Statistics says that unemployed job hunters age 55 to 64 spend a median of 34.5 weeks looking for work versus 22.2 weeks for workers of all ages. So it's not a perception, it's a reality that it takes older workers longer. Why? Because they're more senior, there are fewer senior jobs, and a lot of people competing for them. And in a recent AARP survey of workers 45 and older, three-quarters cited age discrimination as a reason they weren't confident they would find a new job in short order. So when you're of a certain age and you're not getting a response, as I said earlier, people fill in the blank. Oh, it must be because of my age. It may have nothing to do with your age. It may have to do with a terrible resume. It may have to do with a LinkedIn profile that's not optimized. Nothing to do with age. But when you're of a certain age, it's easy to blame age on why it is you're not getting the job. So here's what I recommend. I know in the Boston area where I am, every year the Boston Globe puts out a list of the 100 top companies to work for in Massachusetts, and they do it by categories. If I were looking for a job, I would go to one of those companies. Why? Because they're the least likely companies to be discriminating based on age. Go to the companies that have a reputation for wanting the best candidate irrespective of age. GE isn't going to hire you in a senior level role Why? Because they've got folks lined up to take those roles who have been working in GE for years. Go to smaller companies. Go to companies where you can do multiple jobs that you've already done in your past. And so you can wear many hats. That will give you a competitive advantage. So look for ways to turn age as an asset rather than as a liability.
Thank you. Marcia, anything to add to what Don and Jay just said?
Well, it's interesting because I just coached someone, 65 years old, and we got him a CEO job. So Al said to me, he said, Marcia, what if the age thing comes up? And I said, here's what you tell him. That the only way you can ever take a safe shortcut is when you already know the long way home. And what you bring is, at your age as a CEO, where all the safe shortcuts are. So your throughput time in terms of achievement, in terms of getting outcomes, is going to be a lot faster because you know how to get there faster. He got the job. And we didn't make age an issue. We made talent and competencies and attributes the issue. And he got the job, and he still has the job. And he has done exactly what he said. He has brought this company so far in the last 2 years, even he's amazed. But he put all of his prior experience into place, and he achieved the outcomes much faster. And I think that if we, as like Jade said, if we focus on age, they focus on age. If we focus on outcomes, attributes, what we've done, what we do in our community, age is not an issue.
It's a wonderful
So
message.
what you're filled up with spills over, okay? And if you're concerned with age, if you're concerned with gender, if you're concerned with sexual orientation, those things somehow spill over. And so the interviewer may not be concerned about any of this until they sense you are. So clear it out of your head, and you'll be a lot better off.